In the complex web of global trade, tariffs have emerged as powerful tools wielded by governments to protect domestic interests, regulate economies, and assert political influence. China's tariffs, in particular, have significantly reshaped the global trade landscape, especially following the pivotal events of the 2018 trade war. This period marked a dramatic escalation in trade tensions between the United States and China, fundamentally altering the dynamics of international commerce. The trade war initiated by the U.S. under President Donald Trump was characterized by the imposition of tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods. The rationale behind these tariffs was multifaceted, targeting what the U.S. government deemed unfair trade practices, rampant intellectual property theft, and a considerable trade deficit. As the U.S. sought to level the playing field, China quickly retaliated, imposing its own tariffs on a variety of American products, including agricultural goods, automobiles, and chemicals. This tit-for-tat exchange did not just affect the two nations involved. It sent shockwaves throughout the global economy. The ramifications were immediate and profound. Global supply chains, which had been intricately woven over decades, began to unravel. Businesses on both sides faced rising costs as tariffs increased the prices of imported goods. For American farmers, the consequences were particularly severe. Once a thriving market for U.S. agricultural exports, China became increasingly inaccessible. The imposition of tariffs on American soybeans, corn, and other staples resulted in significant financial losses. Farmers who had relied on the Chinese market suddenly found themselves with surplus produce and dwindling profits. Many turned to the government for assistance, seeking subsidies to mitigate the damage inflicted by the trade war. Simultaneously, Chinese manufacturers felt the sting of increased costs for essential raw materials and components that were now subject to tariffs. The ripple effect of these tariffs extended beyond just the immediate parties involved. Consumers in both nations began to feel the pressure. Rising prices became a common refrain as companies passed on their increased costs to consumers, leading to inflationary pressures that affected everyday life. The interconnectedness of the global economy meant that the repercussions of these tariffs were not confined to the U.S. and China. They reverberated around the world, impacting economies far removed from the trade war's epicenter. As the trade conflict continued, it also prompted shifts in trade alliances and strategies. Countries that had previously relied heavily on U.S. or Chinese markets began to reassess their positions. Some sought to capitalize on the disruption by filling the void left by American goods in China, while others looked to strengthen their own domestic industries in response to the uncertain trade climate. This realignment of trade relationships illustrated the fragility of global supply chains and the extent to which they could be influenced by national policies. Moreover, China's strategic initiatives, such as the Made in China 2025 plan, aimed to bolster domestic innovation and reduce reliance on foreign technologies. This initiative often employed tariffs as a means to protect emerging industries from foreign competition, further complicating the global trade landscape. By targeting specific imports, China sought to encourage local production and innovation, thereby reshaping not only its own economy, but also the competitive dynamics of various sectors globally. In summary, the tariffs imposed by China during the trade war with the United States have had far-reaching consequences that extend well beyond bilateral relations. They have disrupted global supply chains, driven up prices for consumers, and forced businesses to adapt to a new reality. While intended to address long-standing trade issues, these tariffs have also highlighted the vulnerabilities of an interconnected global economy, revealing how quickly prosperity can be undermined by political decisions. As nations navigate this new trade landscape, the lessons learned from the 2018 trade war will likely shape future policies and international relations for years to come.